They said Donald Trump could not win the Republican nomination, and they were wrong. They said he couldn't win the election, and they were wrong again. They railed against his victory with protests, violence, threats, and pink pussy beanies. And they've railed and campaigned and obstructed and investigated him ever since. They said he couldn't pass tax cuts, build a wall or create jobs. Wrong, wrong, wrong. They said he'd start a war with North Korea. They got that wrong too. They said he colluded with Russia. They were spectacularly wrong on that. But they never admit it. They just move on to the next thing. And now Nancy Pelosi says there'll be an impeachment inquiry into the Ukrainian influence allegations, even though it seems Joe Biden might have more to fear from such a probe.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
The president, for his part, is pushing out not mere denials and a promise to release the transcript of his controversial phone call to the Ukrainian leader, but he's pushing back with not just allegations against Biden, but what the former vice president said in front of the cameras.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
And while no one can guess where these legal and political processes will go, because the road to this point has been long and winding, we do know that what's driving it is the absolute refusal of the Green left political consensus, the so-called elites of the Democrat Party, the academics, much of the media and the activists, the absolute refusal of these people to accept the democratic will of the people that elected Trump. This tends only to strengthen Trump's political arm, that he's draining the swamp, that the Democrats view voters as deplorable, that he's for mainstream Americans, of course, and his opponents are against them. And guess what? Across the Atlantic, the system and the issues are different, but the big picture is very much the same. The people of Britain voted for Brexit, Boris Johnson is trying to deliver it, and the political establishment doggedly continues to try to thwart him. And now this Remainer resistance has been supported in a controversial ruling by the legal institution of the Supreme Court, forcing a resumption of Parliament.
Well, we're not counting our chickens, and we're full of respect, as I say, for the justices of our Supreme Court. But we're going to push on with. We're going to respect what the court had to say.
So there they were in New York. Two men, both known as mavericks, both with trademark shocks of hair, both with mandates to implement, both opposed every step of the way by the political establishment, and both reviled and derided by much of the media. And both are self-styled champions of the people. Who knows how or when or where the next obstacles will emerge for them? But what's clear here is the much bigger picture that's at stake. Will the losers' consent that is fundamental to the success of democracies ever be respected? Or do the so-called elites believe it's up to them to use whatever devices of the legal and political systems that are available to overcome the will of the people, ignore democratic outcomes, and force their liberal and progressive worldview on the voters they ignore? I'll tell you what, if they keep doing that, the mainstream voters won't just lie down.